So we're on the bottom of, what is it, Chaf Testament based. And the Gemara starts about when the Abba Parshios. So the Gemara starts one line up. Cholios Bavata Tetzava. So we came out, we paskin like Rav, that Shmuel, that Parsha Shkolim is what we read in Kisisa. Rav said Tzavas B'nai Yisrael, and Shmuel said Kisisa on the third wide line. We pass like Shmuel, that Parsha Shkolim is Kisisa, where it talks about the Shkolim. So the Gemara starts, Itmar Cholios Bavata Tetzava. What if Parsha Shkolim came out on Tetzava right before Kisisa? So you finish Parsha Tetzava, and now you have to read Kisisa. So how do you do that? Amr Rav Yitzchak Napacha, Kol Shita Bavata Tetzava Ad Kisisa, V'chad V'chisisa Ad Vasisa. That you divide the 7 aliyahs, 6 to the Parsha Shavua. Like always you would do that. But here the point is, if it would be any Parsha, you do 6 aliyahs. Nowadays the custom is to do maftir, but it could be one of the 7 aliyahs. So 6 aliyahs in the regular Parsha Shavua, Vata Tetzava, and then the 7th aliyah continues reading into the next Parsha, which happens to be Parsha Shkolim. Kisisa Ad Vasisa means that that's the Vasisa is the place where Parsha Shkolim is over. So it means you read Parsha Shkolim, the beginning of Parsha Kisisa. I think after that is Vasisa Munaraza. I forgot what Vasisa says. I didn't really look into the pasuk. But at the end of the Parsha Shkolim. So Rabbi Yitzchak Napacha seems to say simple. You read what you have to read, and then you do Parsha Shkolim for Shvi. Amr Abaye, but Abaye had a complaint against that. It's not going to be noticeable that it's Parsha Shkolim because he does continue reading. It's true. If somebody knows the Parsha Shavua is over, so then he realizes that they're going now into Parsha Shkolim. But if he doesn't, he might think that Parsha Tetzav is over, and then after another paragraph, he doesn't realize that they read Parsha Shkolim just now. That you should read the 6 aliyahs, should read Parsha Shavua into Parsha Shkolim, and maybe people don't notice it. Okay, they do, they don't. And then the Shvi is going to read again. Tani Vikari means he repeats it again, and he reads the Kisisa, so everyone's going to realize that this is Parsha Shkolim now. I guess they're not going to just think that it's maftir. It's interesting. They're not going to just think that it's because it's the 7th aliyah. So 6 people read in Vata Tetzava, including the beginning of Kisisa, in order to make sure there shouldn't be any mistake that they're going to now do Parsha Shkolim. And then the 7th one is going to read again the first Parsha of Kisisa again, the first paragraph of Kisisa to get in Parsha Shkolim. Meisvei. The Brisa says if you have Parsha Shkolim falling it in the Shabbos before, in the Parsha Shavua, before it or after it, means Tetzava or Vayakel, Tetzava Kisisa Vayakel, either fell out on the Shabbos before or the Shabbos after. So you read it, then you repeat it. So the Gemara thinks that Amish is like Abai. Abai says you read it, then you repeat it. On Parshas Tetzaveh, when it comes out before, so you read it, then you repeat it. Why do you repeat it? Because you have to read it twice in order to avoid confusion. Bishlam Abai and Nicha, that you read it twice. He says you only read it once. He says that you read straight into Kisisa, that you get 6 aliyahs in Parsha Shavua, but not the Tetzaveh. And then the 7th aliyah, you continue reading, so you didn't double it, you only did it one time. So the Gemara says, no, that's not the pshat. Even according to Abai's pshat, he just said that you repeated it on the same week. That's only when it came out on Tetzaveh. But it comes out by Yakel. The Brisa says either way, either before or after. If it comes out in Parshas by Yakel, then there's no question. Of course, you read Parshas by Yakel, the regular Parshas Shavua, 6 aliyahs, and then the 7th aliyah goes back to read Kisisa. So over there, he didn't double it. Even according to Abai, he didn't double. He just read it one time. So what does it mean doubling it? All the Brisa means is that you do two weeks in a row, not on the same week you read it 2 times. But if it comes out on Parshas Tetzaveh or Vayakel, so it comes out that you'll be reading Parshas Kisisa 2 times in 2 weeks in a row because you read it on Parshas Tetzaveh for Parshas Shkolim, and then again you read it Parshas Kisisa for Shkolim. And then again, you did a Parsha Kisisa for the Parsha Shavua, or if it comes out in Vayakel, so you read it on Kisisa for the Parsha Shavua, and then Parsha Vayakel, you read it for Parsha Shkolim. So it comes out that you read it 2 weeks in a row, but it doesn't mean you read it on the same week. So it is true, there's a machlokas Abai. I think the halacha seems to say like Abai. I don't know if it happens nowadays. Anyway, okay, maybe it does. I didn't look into it. But if it comes out in Parsha Tetzaveh, so we're not going to read straight from Tetzaveh Kisisa. You're going to read Tetzaveh and Kisisa, and then you'll read again Kisisa. I don't remember this ever happening, so I guess it doesn't come out. But that seems to be the halacha like Abaye, that in order to avoid confusion, you're going to read Tetzaveh, including Parshas Shkolim, and 6 aliyahs, and then you'll go again. Then you'll do it again, Kisisa.
We always use a second Sefer Torah, don't we?
A second Sefer Torah, does that solve any issue?
It makes a distinction.
It makes a distinction. You don't really have to take another Sefer Torah. The Gemara is, if you have another Sefer Torah, you do. Here, the truth is that there's no reason to take another Sefer Torah. The only reason you take another Sefer Torah and not to roll it is because you should save time. That instead of rolling it, you have another Sefer Torah. But here, it takes more time to take another Sefer Torah than you're right there. You're holding over there. So inherently, you wouldn't have to take out another Sefer Torah. There's no din to take out another Sefer Torah, even though the Gemara said before, Shalosh Torah, so they talk about it. That's only a practical way not to have to scroll it back and forth. Inherently, it's easier. The Pashas does not take another Sefer Torah when it's close by, and it saves more time to just roll it to the right place than to take out another Sefer Torah. Okay, the Gemara.
Most years they're close to each other.
What?
Most years they're close to each other, so it's only going back.
They are close to each other. That's true. Does anybody? Do you remember that it comes out Tetzaveh, and we do this? I don't recall that we ever do this. Does anybody recall that this is ever done? I don't know. But I do think it is true that usually it's close by and it's not necessary to take out another Sefer Torah. It's true. I think it is not necessary to take another Sefer Torah if it's close by, and it takes much longer to take another Sefer Torah. I think. But I think people do like to take out another Sefer Torah, but I don't know if it's necessary. Okay, the Gemara continues. What if Parsha Shkolim comes out on Kisisa, comes out on the same Parsha? That you're going to read Kisisa for the Parsha Shavua, and you have to read Kisisa also for Parsha Shkolim. What do you do? That you're not going to read it 2 times. You start after Parsha Shkolim. Means the first part of Kisisa you skip. It's interesting, you're not going to read in order. You're going to read the 6 aliyahs from after Parsha Shkolim until the end of the Parsha, and then the 7th aliyah reads from the beginning. And they'll see. I mean, I guess he knows he's not so concerned about the confusion. But you read Kisisa, you did it for Parsha Shkolim. People are not going to see that as Parsha Shkolim. They're going to think that he read backwards. It is interesting because we had the halacha before, you're not supposed to read backwards, even in the Navi. So surely not in the Torah. So it is interesting here. Medalgin. So I don't understand what Abaye's kasha is, that it's not going to be noticeable. People are not going to realize that it's Parsha Shkolim. It just read backwards. Usually you're not allowed to read backwards. But Abaye says it's still not noticeable. Again, you're going to read it twice. What do? You read the whole Parsha, even though you read Parsha Shkolim, but people don't realize because it was the beginning of the Parsha. It was Parsha's Kisisa. And then the 7th aliyah is going to repeat it. Tani V'Kori is going to read it again, the first paragraph, in order to read Parsha Shkolim again. And this, the Gemara is a brayso like Abaye. Tani Kavasa the Abaye, first white line. You read it and double it. So here, there's no way to get out of it. The brayso says openly that you read it and you repeat it again. That's what Abaye says. You read the whole parsha and then you go back to the beginning again. So we had 2 cases so far. One was that came out of Parshas Tetzaveh, and Abaye says, seems that's the halacha that you'll read the Parshas Tetzaveh, including Parshas Shkolim, and then go back again to read Parshas Shkolim. And the second case was that it came out of Parshas Kisisa, so you read the whole parsha and then you repeat it again, the beginning Parshas Shkolim. Second white line. So we're talking about Parshas Shkolim, and it says that if Rosh Chodesh Adar fell out on Shabbos, so that's when you read Parshas Shkolim. If it came out during the week, during the week, then you would read it on the previous Shabbos. Itmar Rosh Chodesh Adar shechol yos be'erev Shabbos. What if it comes out on Erev Shabbos? I'll just have a screen. I have a diagram. I hope it'll be helpful. I'm not sure. Let's see if this will be helpful. The first case is the Mishnah says if Parshas Shkolim, these checks are if Rosh Chodesh would have come out any one of these days. If Rosh Chodesh would have come out on a Sunday, a Monday, a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Rosh Chodesh Adar, so you read Parshas Shkolim on the previous Shabbos. Okay, that's simple. And now the question is, what if it came out on Erev Shabbos? What if this is a Friday? It's a Hebrew calendar going from right to left. So the first of Adar was on a Friday, and then Shabbos is the second of Adar. So the question is, when do you read Parshas Shkolem? Do you read it on the previous Shabbos, just like the Mishnah before, the cases before? You always read it on the previous Shabbos. Are you going to read it on the previous Shabbos, or the next other choice is going to be to read it tomorrow on the second of Adar? So what does the Gemara say about that? Like regular, you do it the Shabbos before, and that seems to what the halacha is going to be. You read it the next day. You read Parshas Shkolem the second of Adar, on the next day. We said before the reason why you start Rosh Chodesh Adar, really the Gemara said two reasons: either 30 days before you're supposed to bring the Shkolem, or if you hold 2 weeks, 2 weeks is enough of a preparation. So it's 2 weeks before the bankers the money changers are supposed to get set up their tables in order to change money for the Machzah Shekel. And we wanted them they go out on the 15th. They start on the 15th of Adar. So you want to have 2 weeks preparation in order they should get ready. So if you're going to first read Parshas Shkolem on the 2nd of Adar, they're not going to have the 2 weeks preparation. So read it always before. You should have at least 14 days, 2 weeks earlier. Shmuel says that you delay it. You're going to read Parshas Shkolem the next day on Shabbos, the 2nd of Adar. So you have less than 2 weeks left. He says you don't lose the 2 weeks, because he says that 15th is going to come out on a Friday. According to the Cheshbon, that's what comes out, that if Rosh Chodesh came out on a Friday, so the 15th is also going to be a Friday. And they're not going to set up the tables. They're not going to start the money changing tables on Erev Shabbos. It's not a good day that they start business. So they're anyway not going to start until Sunday. So even if the 17th, so even if you don't announce it until the 2nd of Adar, Beis Adar, you still have the 2 weeks preparation, because anyway, the tables are not going to start on the Friday. They're going to wait until Sunday. Tanan, top of the screen. The Mishnah says that if the first of Adar came out during the week, so you proceed, you read Parshas Shkolem on the previous Shabbos, and then it says that the next Shabbos is a hafsaka. The next Shabbos is going to be an off Shabbos, means you're not going to do any one of the Parshas, Shkolem you did the Shabbos before, and then there's going to be a Shabbos without anything, and then the next Shabbos is going to be Parshas Zohar. Usually, other cases, you'll have some cases where you do Shkolem and Zohar in a row. But here it says that would be if the Chodesh Adar came out on Shabbos. Then you'll have Parshas Shkolem, and the next week, Parshas Zohar. That'll be the 8th. The first was on the Shabbos. The next Shabbos is also going to be the 8th of Adar. The next one is going to be the 15th already. So you do 2 weeks in a row, Shkolem and Zohar. But if it came out during the week, so you do Shkolem the Shabbos, the previous Shabbos, and then the next Shabbos is going to be hafsaka, means it's not going to be any of the Abba Parshios reading. You're not going to read Shabbos Zohar. My love, afilu b'erev Shabbos. So if you take the Mishnah, it says a blanket rule that if it came out during the week, the Gemara thinks during the week means the whole week: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday also. My love, afilu b'erev Shabbos. So it's a raya to Rav. Lo b'socha Shabbos dafka. Maybe b'socha Shabbos means during the week, but Erev Shabbos is not called during the week. So even though everyone agrees from Sunday to Thursday, if it comes out, if the Rosh Chodesh comes out Sunday to Thursday, so you read the previous Shabbos, but still, Rav says Erev Shabbos is different. Tashma, Ezoi Shabbos Rishona, Kol Shechol Rosh Chodesh Ad Elios B'socha, Afilu Erev Shabbos. That's the brisa, which the last 3 words seems to be talking about our subject. It says, what's considered the first week of the 4 Shabbosos, of the 4 Parshios? The first week is the first Shabbos is the week, the Shabbos that Rosh Chodesh is going to come out in it, B'socha, in the week. And I feel Erev Shabbos. It seems to say openly that no difference if it's going to be Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and even Friday. Even Friday, you read on the previous Shabbos. My love, I feel Erev Shabbos. To me, the Tocha. Doesn't it sound like it'll all be the same halacha? That just like in the middle of the week, they said, I feel Lios B'socha, I feel Erev Shabbos. So Ma Tocha Makdimin, Erev Shabbos Makdimin. The same way the brisa says that if it fell out in any of the other days, you read Parshas Zohar the previous Shabbos, so too if it comes out on Erev Shabbos also, mamash like Rav, that you read it the previous Shabbos. Amar Shmuel, ba. V'chein tani devei Shmuel, ba. He changed the gears. Instead of saying, Kol shechol v'shchodesh lios besocha, on the top line over here, Kol shechol v'shad lios besocha. I can't, it's not a mistake. Maybe I could, yeah, 1 second. Over there. That Kol shechol v'shad lios besocha. So he's changing that to ba. Kol shechol v'chodesh lios ba. So the Bryce is saying that it's not talking about the way we thought, that it's saying same as the Mishnah said, that the Shabbos that Chodesh Adar fell out during the week. Besocha means during the week, but change the gears. Kol Chodesh Adar lios ba, that Chodesh Adar came out on Shabbos, and over there it's true. Just get the screen a second, maybe that'll help. Kol Chodesh Adar, let's take over here. Chodesh Adar lios ba. This is the case that Chodesh Adar came out on Shabbos. So here it says that what's called the first Shabbos. Not the case. It's not coming to tell you the din before that if Rosh Chodesh came during the week, Besocha during the week. It's coming to say this halacha, that if Rosh Chodesh came out on Shabbos, so that's when you read Parsha Zohar, and that's true. Everybody agrees to that. And then it says Afilu Erev Shabbos. That means that even in this case, also you're also going to read it then that week, Ba on the Shabbos, and even when it says Afilu Erev Shabbos, it means, and even if it's going to be a day before, which means that Rosh Chodesh Adar came out, also you read it on the next day, on the second. So it takes, by changing one word, so it changes from being a Beferish Brisa like Rav to a Beferish Brisa like Shmuel. So that's the question what the Gersa was. Shmuel changed the Gersa. Shmuel ba. In the Shiva of Shmuel also, they said over the Brisa and the Tosefta that they learned, they had the Gersa ba, not Kol Shechol Shabbos Rosh Chodesh Lios Besocha, Ela Kol Shechol Rosh Chodesh Adar Lios ba. Then the Gemara finds a machlokes tanam about this issue. Ketana, we learned the machlokes tanam about this issue. Mesagin l'shabbos is libra Yehuda Nasi Hashem Elaz Omer in Mesagin. So we know what the word Mesagin Seirugin means. We had that sugi earlier. The word Seirugin means with the interruption. Nowadays, the word Seirugin people use it to mean alternate, but we said that that seems to be a modern translation. The original word Mesagin means to make hafsakat, to pause, to have an interruption. So Mesagin l'shabbos is libra Yehuda Nasi Hashem Elaz Omer in Mesagin. So this has to do with what the Mishnah said about Hafsaka, that there's going to be a case of the upper Pashas, you have Hafsaka in between. You don't read straight 4 Shabbosos, but there's going to be a Shabbos with an interruption. And Rabbi, which is true, you always have to have Hafsaka, but Rabbi Shimon Elazar Omer ein Mesagin, there's no Hafsaka. And that has to be explained. He himself explains, of course, there's usually Hafsaka. Rabbi Shimon Elazar ein Mesagin, when do I mean to say there's no Hafsaka? Is Mashachol Yos Be'erev Shabbos. This is going to be like Shmuel's case, when it comes out on Erev Shabbos, this is the case we're talking about. When it comes out on Erev Shabbos, then there's not going to be Hafsaka because Shkolim is going to be on the 2nd of Adar, and the next Shabbos is going to be the 9th, is going to be Parsha Zohar, and you're not going to skip in between. According to Rav, that he says in this case, you read it on the Shabbos before, you read it on the previous Shabbos, so then on the 2nd of Adar is going to be Hafsaka. But according to Shmuel, and this Amadam holds like Shmuel, so he says Ein Mesagin. In this case, there's no Hafsaka because you read Parsha Shkolim on the 2nd of Adar, and therefore the next week is not going to be Hafsaka. You're going to read Parsha Zohar because it's the Shabbos before Purim. Let's see that inside. I'm at top line in the screen. When it comes out on Erev Shabbos, so then I hold like Shmuel, so to speak, and you're going to read Parsha Zohar on the 2nd, Parsha Shkolim on the 2nd. Therefore, the next week there's no Hafsaka. If it was a different day, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so then I do agree there's going to be Hafsaka. Then you're going to read Parsha Shkolim on the previous Shabbos, even though it's not Adar B'chlal, it's still Shvat, and everybody agrees to that. So we find the machlokes. What do you do when it comes out Rosh Chodesh Adar on Friday? And we're going to paskin like Rav that also you read it on the previous Shabbos. That's the point.
So that you, in order that you, oh,
yes, please.
In order that you can hear the Pashas Zachor before Purim.
Zachor, that's the next sugya. That's Zachor before Purim is the next sugya. This sugya till now was talking about Shkolim. And Shkolim is before Rosh Chodesh Adar. And the Homachlokus was, if it comes out Rosh Chodesh Adar on Friday, do you do it the previous Shabbos also, or do you do it the next day? That was the Machlokus. And we paskin like Rav, that even in this case also you're going to do it the Shabbos before. And then it's going to be Afsaka. On the second of that is going to be Afsaka. But you said now that Parsha Zachor is the Shabbos before Purim. That's going to be the Sugi coming up now, which you're right. In general, Parsha Zachor is the Shabbos before Purim. The Gemara starts now. B'Shnia Zachor. The next Shabbos is going to be Parsha Zachor. Itmar Purim Shechol Yos Be'erev Shabbos. What if Purim comes out? Purim is the 14th. Always when the Gemara says, even though we have the 15th, the Mukafin, but whenever it says Purim, it means the 14th. So the 14th came out on Erev Shabbos. So again, in general, always the week that Purim comes out, we have Parsha Zachor before. How about if it came out the last possible day, Friday? Let's see again, just the screen a second, if that helps. Purim came out on the 14th. This is the case over here. If Purim is the 14th, came out on a Friday. So when are you going to read Parsha Zachor? The choice, the Pashas would be to read the previous Shabbos, like always. And the 8th of Adar, that's going to be a Shabbos, and that'll be Parsha Zachor. The first of Adar came out on the Shabbos. That everyone agrees you read Parsha Shkolim on that week. The next week is the 8th, and that's the Shabbos before Purim. But Shmuel's going to say, no, read it on the next day. Read Parsha Zachor on the 15th. Let's see what the Gemara says about that. I'm sorry for jumping back and forth. That's the best I know how to do. Maybe there's a way to technically do it better. Itmar, Purim Shechol Yos Be'erev Shabbos. Rav Amar Makdim Parsha Zachor. Shmuel Amar Machmin. Rav says you do it the Shabbos Zachor, the Shabbos before. Shmuel says you do it the next day, on the 15th. Rav Amar Makdim Kechet Lo Tikta Masiyel Zchira. The point of saying Parsha Zachor is that there should be a remembrance about the mitzvah of Mechias Amalek before the Purim, which is the day of celebrating the Mechias Amalek. So we're supposed to preface the Zechira to the Asiyah. If you're going to do the 14th Purim and then the 15th is going to be Parsha Zachor, you're doing it out of order. You're prefacing the acting, the celebrating to the celebrating, or to the remembrance. So no, do it the Shabbos before. But Shmuel says no, Ma'achrin, push it off. It's not terrible because on the 15th is the day that the Mukafan Purim. So for them, it comes together. It's true that it's not before, it's simultaneous, but that's also good enough. For everybody else, the regular open cities, so it's true that first came the Asiyah and then the Zechira. That's out of order. But there are some people that are doing it on the same day, and therefore the Asiyah and the Zechira come out to be together is good enough. Just to point out that this Gemara is mashma that when you have what we call, this is a form of Shulish. This is the case that the 15th came out on Shabbos. This is a form of Shulish, right? The 14th is Shabbos, the 15th is Shabbos. So the question is, when do you celebrate? And we know the big custom is to do a Purim Shulish, a triple Purim. On 14th you read the Megillah, on the 15th you say Al Anisim, and the 16th is when you make the Suda. That's what's common practice. But our Gemara seems to say differently. They bring you Rishalmi maybe. I think, I don't recall exactly. We had the Sugi once upon before. So this Gemara is pretty clear that the mitzvah of the Suda is on Shabbos itself. It says that the Zechira and something is on the 15th, the Gemara says. Zechira and Asira come together. That the Parsha Zachor, according to Shmuel, says no problem to do Parsha Zachor on the 15th because at least the Mukafan are celebrating Purim. So it's pretty clear that our Gemara holds that the Suda is supposed to be on Shabbos. And I think the post can bring down such a shita, and they say it's good to do that. Even though we do celebrate Purim or Shulish, we have the Suda on Sunday, but it seems that our Gemara says to do it on Shabbos itself. So it's a good thing to do that also. Make the Suda, even if you can do it on Sunday, make it on Shabbos also. A Purim Suda.
And also on Sunday?
So to be the machmer for both shitas, that they do Shabbos and Sunday. But our Gemara seems to say Shabbos. I don't have my notes with me. I know I had something more, and there was a sugi before we spoke about this. I forgot the details. I don't have it in front of me, so that's the best I can do now. Maybe in a couple of days we'll come back, and we'll talk about it if I remember. If anybody reminds me, please. But this Gemara, I think they bring as a pretty clear source that Bavli holds that you do the Suda on Shabbos. Tanan, the Gemara is going to look for a rise about this point. When do you read Parsha Zachor? When Purim falls out when the 14th falls out on Friday. Tanan, B'Shnia Zachor. It says in the Mishnah that the first week is Shkolim, the second week is Zachor. If you read the, let's go again, I'm sorry again for jumping back and forth. It says, the Mishnah seems to read that when Shkolim when Rosh Chodesh Adar comes out on Shabbos, you read Parshas Shkolim. That's this calendar. This is this calendar, this diagram that first about that came out on the Shabbos, and you read Parshas Shkolim, and then it says B'Shnia Zohar. It seems to be going in the same case, and it says B'Shnia Zohar. That means on the next Shabbos you're going to read Zohar. That's why I was like Rav. You should read the Mishnah straight. So it seems to say that even when Rosh Chodesh Adar comes out on the first, which is going to mean that the Purim is going to come out on the 14th, you read Parshas Zohar the next week without any Hafsaka. But the Gemara is going to answer that you could read the Mishnah a little differently, because the Mishnah, besides saying the case of Rosh Chodesh Adar, it also says after that if it came out during the week, so then you read the previous Shabbos and Mafsikin the Shabbos Haba, and then it says this din of Shnia. So you could say that it's going on the Mafsikin the Shabbos Haba. Even in this case also, it's the Mafsikin the Shabbos Haba is even referring to this case, that the case where it says that Rosh Chodesh Adar came out on Shabbos, you read Parshas Zohar. Then it says also about if it comes out during the week, you read the Shabbos before. Then it says Mafsikin the Shabbos Haba. So in this case also, you're going to skip Shabbos, you skip the 8th, and Shmuel will say, then you're going to read on the next week, the Shabbos Shnia means that after the Hafsaka, after the interruption of the 8th, then you're going to read Parshas Zohar on the 15th. So you can read the Mishnah either way, so it's not a raya to either of the opinions. Here's the Gemara, Tanan, top line, B'Shnia Zohar, Mikla, Reishacha, B'Shabbos, Mikla, Purim, B'Erev Shabbos. The case the Mishnah is talking about, that Rosh Chodesh Adar came out on Shabbos, so the 14th came out on Erev Shabbos, for Ketani B'Shnia Zohar, and it says the next week, it sounds like no Hafsaka on the 8th. You're going to read Parshas Zohar like Rav. Amar Papa, my Shnia Hafsaka. When it says in the Mishnah the next week, it doesn't mean the next week after Parshas Shkolim. It means the next week after the Hafsaka that it mentioned in the Mishnah. Just to scroll down a second to get the Mishnah inside. Here it is. V'shchod Shabbos Choliyos b'Shabbos Kohen b'Parshas Shkolim. Choliyos b'Socha Shabbos Makdim l'Shavos Mafsikin l'Shabbos Acheres. Here's where it says Mafsikin l'Shabbos Acheres. B'Shnia Zohar. So B'Shnia Zohar could be going the word that Ajashvin is saying Mafsikin l'Shabbos Acheres, and it could be that according to Shmuel, Mafsikin l'Shabbos Acheres even means in the ratio also. Even when it says that Adar came out, Rosh Chodesh came out on Shabbos, also Mafsikin l'Shabbos Acheres. So it's no proof from the Mishnah. Shmuel is still holding his ground that you read Parshas Zohar on the 15th of Adar. Tashma, Eze Shabbos Shnia, Kol Shechol Purim Liyos B'Socha, Afilu B'Erev Shabbos. This Bryce coming up that similar to the Bryce before. It says what's considered the second week of the 4 Parshios, the week that Purim is going to fall out in it, which sounds like the previous Shabbos, the Shabbos before Purim. Afilu B'Erev Shabbos. If you read the Bryce plain, it seems to say Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and even Friday. You read on the previous Shabbos, mamash like Rav. My love Erev Shabbos don't read the Tocha. Isn't the Mishnah saying that Erev Shabbos is the same as the rest of the week? My Tocha Mekdimin Af Erev Shabbos Mekdimin, just like the rest of the week. You read Parshas Zohar before, on the Shabbos before. So too, if it comes out Purim on Friday, also read the Shabbos before. Amar Shmuel, but again, he does the same thing as before. He changed the word Besocha that it says on the top line over here. He changed that word Besocha. He changed it to Ba. The Shabbos that Purim falls out on it means that if the 14th would fall out on Shabbos, you would read Parshas Zohar on that Shabbos. Trying to get the screen again. Is there such a case here? Let's see. Yeah, here's a case that if Purim fell out on Shabbos, the 14th comes out on Shabbos, which doesn't happen nowadays. But if the 14th would come out on Shabbos, so then you read Parashas Zohar on that Shabbos. And then Afilu B'Erev Shabbos is going to, the word Afilu B'Erev Shabbos means that even this case that it came out on Erev Shabbos, also you're going to read it also on that Shabbos, on the 15th. So the same word, Besocha, but the same thing again, that depends what the gear says. Either it's a Ferish Brisa like Rav, or it's a Ferish Brisa like Shmuel, and they have the Girsa that said Ba, so therefore they hold that it's going to be the next day. This doesn't come, the Lacha might be like Rav, but it doesn't come, according to our calendar, it doesn't come out. On second, what did we just say? Yes, I'm sorry, it does happen. It does happen that the 15th, I'm sorry, for the 14th, Purim Shechol Yaz B'Erev Shabbos, the 14th does come out on Erev Shabbos nowadays, and Parashas Zohar is the Shabbos before we pass on like Rav. The next case, Chol Yos B'Shabbos Atzma. What if the 14th came out on Shabbos? This does not happen now. This the contact calendar. This doesn't happen. If the 14th comes out on Shabbos, here even Rav will agree that you don't do it the Shabbos before. We just spoke about this case. I mean, the Gemara said if this we just said according to Shmuel, but now the Gemara is saying what do Rav hold about this case? Here it says that Levi Akolein Makdim, and Rav's going to agree that it's okay to do Parsha Zachor on the same day on the 14th because it comes together simultaneously. It's good enough. He just was concerned before that it's the day before. You can have the 14th celebrate Purim, and then the next day is going to be Parsha Zachor. That didn't make sense to him, even though the Mukafin do have it simultaneously, but the Prozim don't have it simultaneous. But if in the case where it comes simultaneously, that you can have Parsha Zachor on the 14th, that's okay. Rav Nachman Amar Daini Machlokes. No, that he says Rav that wants dafka that it should be before. So it's not good enough to be simultaneous. Shmuel holds that it's good enough to be simultaneous, even if it's only simultaneous for some people. Mukafin is good enough. And Rav holds that no, simultaneous is not good, even if it's for everybody. Even if the Mukafin will have it on Sundays before and they'll have a simultaneous. No, it must be that it should be before for everybody. And therefore, Rav will say that it's going to be the Shabbos before also. And this doesn't happen nowadays. We don't have the 14th coming out on Shabbos according to our calendar. Itmanami Yom Rav Kir Rabba Rabbi Abba Rav Purim Shechol Yos B'Shabbos Maktem V'Kor B'Shabbos Sha'avra Zachor. If the 14th comes out on Shabbos, you read Parsha Zachor the Shabbos before. And
Rebbe?
yes, please.
Nonetheless, we do read Zachor every time before the Shabbos.
Yes. I'm just saying that this case doesn't come up. With this case, this on the screen doesn't happen by us. We don't have that the 14th comes out on Shabbos, so this wouldn't happen. It will be a machlokes. Some will say that even the Rav agrees that you read it on the 14th, not the Shabbos before, but it doesn't happen. But you're right that in all the cases that do happen, like this case, the 14th comes out on Friday, so then we're going to read it the Shabbos before. We're not going to do like Shmuel that reads it the next day, even though the Mukafin are celebrating on the same day. So Asiyah and Zechirah together. We pass like Rav that it has to be the Shabbos before, and at least for the Prozim, and therefore you read it on the 8th. Yeah, that's how you. Okay. The Gemara continues. B'shlisha is paraduma. So we did already Shkolim, the Shabbos before Rosh Chodesh Adar, or Rosh Chodesh Adar itself, and Zohar Shabbos before Purim. And now the next one is paraduma. Tanu Rabbanan. Ezeu Shabbos Shlish. It's called Shasmucha LePurim Yachareh. Which is the third Shabbos? The first Shabbos after Purim. The Shabbos before Rosh Chodesh Nisan. And the truth is that part has nothing to do with Purim. Shkolim has to do with bringing the Shkolim, right? We said 30 days before Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Also, the Midrashim talk about that Shkolim should be before Zohar. Shkolim should be before the Nes of Purim. That the Shkolim are as kapara for Am Yisrael. But in the Gemara, Shkolim is in order to remind everybody to bring the shkolim, and the bankers 2 weeks notice to get their bank ready, that money changing table ready. Zohar is before Purim, that's what I said. And now Paradum is not do with Purim. Paradum is preparation for Korban Pesach. As we know that you have to be Torah, you can't be Tamei Meis when you bring the Korban Pesach. So Paradum has to be before. And Chodesh, which is the fourth parsha, is announcing Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Chodesh is Alachem. So really, it has nothing to do with Purim. But here the Brisa says, is it the Shabbos after Purim, or is it the Shabbos before Rosh Chodesh Nisan? So really, even if it's going to be the Shabbos before after Purim, it's not going to be because it's Shabbos after Purim. That's not the essence. It's only coincidental. And the point is that the Shabbos before Rosh Chodesh Nisan has to be a Chodesh, and the Shabbos before that has to be Porah. Is that going to be the Shabbos? Is that going to come out to be the Shabbos after Purim? It's not inherent. It's just coincidental. So incidental. So the Gemara seems to say a machlokes. It starts off, the Brisa says that it's the Shabbos after Purim, and Rav Chaim Bar Chanina says it's the Shabbos closest to Nisan. Below Pligi, the machlokes is going on. Everybody holds that it's the closest Shabbos you can have before Parshas HaChodesh. Hadik Rosh Chodesh Nisan b'Shabbos, Hadik B'Emtza Shabbos. If Rosh Chodesh Nisan, which comes out, if the Aleph Nisan comes out on Shabbos, so then you read a Chodesh on that Shabbos. Parshas HaChodesh, you'll read on that Shabbos itself. So then the Shabbos before that could be Parshas Parah. That's all we want to do. We want to make a Chodesh as close to Rosh Chodesh as possible, and Parshas Parah before. So if Rosh Chodesh Nisan comes out on Shabbos, so Parshas Chodesh is going to be that day. Aleph Nisan is going to be Parshas Chodesh, and then the Parshas Parah could be the Shabbos before, and it's not going to be the Shabbos after Purim because there's going to be Afsaka over there. But if Rosh Chodesh Nisan came out during the week, and you have to preface Parshas Chodesh to the Shabbos before that, so then it's going to come out the Shabbos before that is Parah. That's what happens to be the Shabbos after Purim and not the Shabbos before Rosh Chodesh, because you had to fill in the Shabbos Parshas HaChodesh, so there was no room. But it comes out that it inherently has nothing to do with Purim. You do it Parshas HaPorah Shabbos before Parshas HaChodesh. If I think I'm right, and if you could do a Chodesh and the Porah right before that, you'll do. If not, if you have to do, if you can make Parshas HaChodesh to be on a Shabbos, so then you'll have the Shabbos before that, the Porah, and you'll have Hafsaka on the Shabbos before, which we're going to see soon. I think Rashi is going to tell us a simon that will tell us all these cases, but it's nothing to do with Purim at all. Porah and Chodesh are one after the next, and if it's going to be the Shabbos right before Chodesh, or is the Shabbos before that, because you had to fill in the Shabbos before Chodesh, which came out during the weekday, and then Shabbos before that will be Porah. So it comes out simple, even though the Gemara sounds a little bit complicated, I think. But the point is that there's nothing to do with Purim; it only has to do with the parsha before Parshas HaChodesh. The fourth Shabbos is Parshas HaChodesh. We're not going to talk about Parshas HaChodesh. We just finished talking about it. That it's a Shabbos before Rosh Chodesh Nisan or on Rosh Chodesh Nisan. But now the Gemara is going to bring the brisa which sums up the whole four, which we spoke about already before, and we had the brisa mentioned sprinkled in the Gemara before, and we spoke about Rav and Shmuel how they fixed up the brisa. This brisa is going to tell us the four Shabbosos, not only to tell us the Kriyas of Torah for each one, and also the Torah for each one. The Parshas Shkolim is to read Parshas Kisisa. This is a brisa like Shmuel that we paskin like that you don't read Savas Bnei Yisrael, read Kisisa. Here it says the Haftarah is Yoyada, which we also learned before already about the Shkolim of Yoyada. And here it says that if it came out on Shabbos, you read it on that Shabbos. Vezi Shabbos Rishon, Kol Shechol V'Chodesh Ad Elios Besocha, Afilu Be'er Shabbos. This brisa was quoted before. Shmuel changed it, the word Besocha to Ba, but us to read the brisa plain the way we paskin. What's considered the first Shabbos? The Shabbos before Rosh Chodesh. If Rosh Chodesh is going to come out during the week, the Shabbos before is Parshas Shkolim, and also said before, the top line said that when Shabbos came out on that day, also surely read Parshas Shkolim on Aleph Adar. Shabbat b'Shniya Zohar. The next Shabbos is going to be the next week. It doesn't say if there's Hafsaka or not, but the next one is going to be Zohar. That's in Parshas Kiseitze, Maftim Bakadati. That's in Shmuel about the story of Amalek. Bezi Shabbos Shniya Kol Shechol Purim Lios B'Socha Afilu B'Erev Shabbos. Again, this is the simple nusach how we paskin like, not like Shmuel changed it. That week before Purim, the Shabbos before Purim, that's going to be Parshas Zohar. Even if it comes out on Friday, the 14th comes out on Friday, still we read Parshas Zohar the Shabbos before, like Rav. The Shlish is Parah Aduma. The third week is Parah Aduma Parshas Chukas Mavtin Zerati Aleichem, which is in Yecheskel, also about Ma'im Tahorim. Talks about sprinkling with pure waters, which sounds like Parah Aduma. It probably over there it's talking about something different, but Drash is to say, I'm going to purify you. The first Shabbos after Purim, which we said sometimes it's going to be the Shabbos after Purim, sometimes not. It has to do with the Shabbos before Parshas HaChodesh. That's in Parshas Bo, Mavtin Kol Ma'ashem Elokim. But Rishon B'Echad LaChodesh, it says over here in Yecheskel, over there talks about also about the Korban Pesach, HaChodesh. So that's the Haftarah for Parshas HaChodesh. Be'ezo, he, Shabbos Revi'ez, Kol Shechol Chodesh Nisnu Lias B'Socha, Afilu B'Erev Shabbos. That Shabbos HaChodesh is the fourth week, is the week of Rosh Chodesh Nisan, and even if Rosh Chodesh Nisan comes out on a Friday, the previous Shabbos is going to be Parshas HaChodesh. There's interesting Rashi over here. I just would like to point it out. Rashi over here says on the fourth line, and here it says this is a simon. A simon. Rashi says that it doesn't come out the 14th on Shabbos, and he just tells us the possibilities when Rosh Chodesh Adar could come out. Yamim HaRu'uyin on the fourth line over here. The Kviyas Rosh Chodesh Adar Zavdu. That's a simon. It's brought down to Shulchan Aruch Tisimanim Zavdu. I'm sorry. Maybe I could highlight it over here. One second. I'm sorry. My mouse is. That's the word Zavdu. Zavdu is 7, 2, 4, 6, which is a simon of the four days of the week that Rosh Chodesh Adar could come out on. According to our calendar, a fixed calendar, nowadays we don't consecrate the moon according to witnesses that see it. So it's a set calendar. So the 4 possibilities when Rosh Chodesh Adar could come out is only 4 out of the 7 days of the week. It could come out on a Shabbos, that's Zion, or a Monday, Beis, or a Wednesday, Dalid, or a Friday, 6. Shabbos, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And as far as, then Rashi continues, with a siman, Besoras, Hafsakas, Parshios, is Kach. To know which Shabbos is going to be the Hafsaka. We said again that you have Shkolim, Zochor, Porah, Chodesh, and sometimes you have to make Hafsaka. Sometimes you have to have a Shabbos that is not going to be any special reading. So here is the siman. The siman goes, Satu. I remember as my Rebbe in 6th grade, he taught this and everybody memorized it. A very nice thing to remember. Satu, Bu, Dadu, Ubiyu. So here, the first letter of each of these 4 acronyms is the Zavdu, Zion, Beis, Dalid, Vav. Zatu, Bu. So the first one is when Shabbos comes out, when Rosh Chodesh Adar comes out on a Shabbos, then the Shabbos that is going to be Hafsaka is going to be Tezvav. And if it comes out Rosh Chodesh Adar on a Monday, then the Hafsaka is going to be on the 6th of Adar. I'll show on the calendar in a second. If it comes out on a Dalit, on a Wednesday, so then the 4th of Adar is going to be the Shabbos is going to be Hafsaka. And if it comes out on a Friday, if Rosh Chodesh Adar was on a Friday, so then there are going to be 2 Hafsakas. Then there's going to be Beis. The next day is going to be, the Beis Adar is going to be Hafsaka, and also Yud Vav, the 16th, is also going to be Hafsaka. Maybe it'll help a little bit to show this on the screen. Some of them are here. This one is Zatu. This one that the diagram is Zatu, because Rosh Chodesh Adar came out on the Shabbos, as we see on the diagram, and which Hafsaka is going to be Tezvav, because that Shabbos was Shkolim. The second one, the 8th, is going to be Zohar, and then the next one is going to be Hafsaka, Tezvav. Tezvav is going to be Hafsaka. That's the siman of Zatu. And where's Ubiyu? I think we have here Ubiyu also. This one is Ubiyu. This one is the last one. Bob, let's see, anything else I can get over here? I didn't put anything else on the screen. I don't think so. No. So the other ones are simple, that if it comes out on, if the Rosh Chodesh Adar comes out on a Monday, so then the 6th is going to be Shabbos. That's going to be 1 Hafsaka, because you did Shkol on the Shabbos before. Dad is similar. If it comes out on a Wednesday, so then the Shabbos coming up is going to be the 4th. That's Dad, and it's Hafsaka because the Shabbos Shkolim was the Shabbos before. Here's the case of Ubiyu. The first came out on a Friday. That's Vav. It came out on a Friday, and you have 2 Hafsakas. You have the 2nd, and you have the 16th, because Parsha Shkolim was the Shabbos before, and then the 2nd of Adar is going to be Hafsaka. Then the 9th is going to be Parsha Zohar, and the 16th is going to be a second Hafsaka. So that's the Rashi. Rashi goes to trouble to tell us this siman. I hope that it was enjoyable for everybody. And now the Gemara continues. The Chamish is Chazor L'Kesidron. So it says you have 4 Shabbos of Shkolim, Zohar, Parah, and Chodesh, and then the 5th Shabbos you go back to normal. Let's say Damai. What does it mean going back to normal? What does normal mean? What's not normal? What's normal? In other words, the one is asking, what do you do during the 4 parashas? What do you read that after the 4 parashas are over, you go back to normal? Rabbi Yam will say the parashas of Choser. Rabbi Yam will say the afterwards of Choser. Rabbi says that you go back to normal reading is Parashat Shavua. That's another way of saying that during the 4 parashas you did not read the Parashat Shavua. That's a huge thing. We don't do that. He holds that during the 4 parashas of Shkolim Zohar, you don't read Parashat Shavua. The Gemara didn't seem like that the whole time. The Gemara said before about if it came out to Tzavek, Yisisa talked about that you read the Parashat Shavua also. But this man Yama says you don't read the Parashat Shavua at all. You just read the Parashat Shkolim, Zohar, etc. And you go back after the 4 parashas over, then you go back to reading Parashat Shavua. Rabbi Yamiya says no, the Parashat Shavua you read every week. Just the Haftarah was changed. The Maftir was different. The Haftarah was different. And that's what you change. But you don't change Parashat Shavua. Amr Abai, Kavasad Rami Mistava, he wants to support Rabbi that you don't read the Parashat Shavua. The Mishnah continues, the end of our Mishnah. It says that you make Hafsaka for all these things. Rosh Chodesh, you don't read the regular reading, you read Rosh Chodesh, you read Chanukah, you read Purim, Tanya Slamados, and Yom Kippur. So if it means Mishnah Madiyam, they the Parsha Yisrael, Hanadika Parsha B'chol. If the Mishnah means that you never stop reading, that you stop reading the regular Parsha, Hashavua, whatever you're supposed to read, so then it makes sense that there are some things over here, like it says, Talios and Mamados, that the rest of them, some of them, it will mean that if it comes out on a Monday and a Thursday, let's say Rosh Chodesh, it comes out Rosh Chodesh. So if it comes out on a Monday or Thursday, you're not going to read the regular reading of Monday and Thursday Parsha Shavua. You'll read Rosh Chodesh. But some of them don't make sense. Letani Yosolaman Modos. Bishlam Laman Damar say the Parsha Yosachoz Hanadika Parsha B'chol. Ella Laman Damar. The say the Haftorah suppose there Haftorah B'chol Meika. If you always read the regular Parsha, and you only are substituting the Haftorah to be a special Haftorah, so that doesn't make sense by the weekday. Only on Shabbos is the Haftorah, but during the weekday there's no Haftorah. So what would it mean that you substitute, you make Hafsaka, you don't read the regular reading? What regular reading is there of the Haftorah? These days that are weekdays, when it comes out on a weekday, so there's no Haftorah to substitute. So it means you substitute the reading. Isn't that a proof to say that the Hafsaka is supposed to be that you stop reading the regular Parsha? Is there any Haftorah to stop? Of course, it means you stop reading the regular Parsha. And Rabbi Yirmiyah, that's how we pass it, pass like Rabbi Yirmiyah, that you do continue the regular reading. It means to say it depends. If there's a regular reading, if there's Haftorah to substitute, these are substitute Haftorah. If there's no Haftorah, so then you're right, then you have to substitute the reading and you don't do the regular reading. And that's what we do on those days that you could substitute Haftorah, like we said, the Arba Parshios. So then you substitute the Haftorah, but you don't stop the regular reading. But on a day that there is no Haftorah, so then you're going to stop the regular reading and you're going to read the other readings. So on Atanias, Mamados, these days, Purim, when it comes out on a weekday, right? Purim, so then you stop the Chanukah, you don't do the regular reading of Monday and Thursday, you do only the other reading. And the last Gemara is Kasha about Tanios. Second white line, Tanios Lamali Avsaka. Rashi says the Gemara is asking according to Rabbi Yirmiyah. Rabbi Yirmiyah says that if you don't have to, you don't push off the regular reading. According to Rabbi Ami, even if you could, you push off the regular reading. So then the Gemara is not going to ask a kasha. But according to Rabbi Yirmiyah, that when you don't have to, you don't stop the regular reading. So the Gemara is asking by Tainus, no problem at all. Means Tainus, there's going to be a reading by Mincha. There's going to be a reading by Mincha also, not only, or the Gemara maybe says only by Mincha. And that's the Gemara's kasha. What's the problem? You could continue reading the Parashat Shavua in the morning. Don't do Vayichal. And Vayichal, you want to do a special reading for part time, do that by Mincha. That's the Mars Kasha, second white line. What's the problem on Tanis? You have to start reading the regular Parashat Shavua. Since you're going to read by Mincha, so in the morning read the Parashat Shavua. And by Mincha, that's when you should read the Vayichal. This is a support to Rav Huna. The fact that we can't do that is a support to Rav Huna. Rav Huna, Mitzafra Kenufia. That on the day of a Tainus, the morning is supposed to be dedicated to introspection. The word Kenufia means to gather, and the Gemara says right away the gathering is going to be to investigate if anything has to be fixed up, any communal affairs that have to be fixed up. So therefore, Rashi says there's no time to read the Torah in the morning, and the reading of the Torah is only in the afternoon. We do read the Torah. We read the Torah in the morning. We read the Torah again in the afternoon. The Ran says that that's only because they used to do that, so we continue. They made no takana to read in the morning. So even though we do read in the morning, so we also read Vayichal twice. But the Gemara, they didn't read Torah in the morning; they only read it in the afternoon, and therefore they had to make a reading of they have to be mevatel the reading of the Parashat Shavua. So we continue. We do like that also. The Ran speaks out. The Gemara says, "Hey Chiyavdina," what's to say the Yom of a Tainus? Amar Abai mitzafra lepalga the Yom of Manin v'mal the Masa. From the morning until Chatzos, until half the day, we investigate in the issues of the city. Means if anything has to be fixed up, if the Kupa Shal Staka, if the whatever, if there are the Chinuch or the Averis that are being done, whatever it might be. So we investigate into the issues of the city. And the second half of the day from Chatzos until the evening, River the Yom Kaveri Maftari. The second half is divided into two quarters. We have this Gemara other place also that the second half of the day is divided into two quarters. One quarter they read enough Torah, which we don't do so much. We read for about 10-15 minutes, but they would read for a quarter of the day. I don't know what that means. How much did they read? I'm not sure. And another quarter of the day they would daven. That's how the day of kindness was spent. The morning was set aside for introspection on a communal level, probably each person on an individual level also. And the second half of the day was for a quarter of it. Means a quarter of the day, half the afternoon was for learning, Torah Maftari, and public reading, it seems, and another half of the afternoon, the last half of the afternoon was for davening. That they read in the Sefer Torah of Hashem, their God, a quarter of the day, and a quarter of the day they were confessing and prostrating to Hashem. So therefore, there's no time to read the Torah in the morning. The time for reading is only in the afternoon. So since there's only one Torah reading, so we read about the time. It's not about Parshas HaShavua. And as the Ran says nowadays, even though we do read in the morning, we kept with the old minhag only to read Vayichal and not to read Parshas HaShavua. The Gemara asks for Epoch, I don't know, maybe it's the opposite. Maybe the 2 quarters. It does say in the pasuk that they read the Torah a quarter of the day and they daven a quarter of the day. Maybe that's all in the morning, and maybe the investigation is supposed to be in the afternoon. Don't think that. This pasuk in Ezra, and it's talking about that people came to complain about the woman people are taking a foreign woman, and it says that all of the people who are scared of the word of Hashem, they gathered to me about this Avera that the people who came back from the Gola had done, and I was sitting devastated until Minchas Ha'erev, and Minchas Ha'erev, then I got up and I Rashi says the end of the pasuk is Kamti Mitanisi v'Espal al Hashem v'Efes Kapai al Hashem, and that's when he started davening. So you see that the davening is in the second half of the day, like Minchas Ha'erev, and not the morning. And the morning was dedicated to investigating what the people were doing. So that's why on the Tainus, there's no time to read the Torah in the morning. So that's the end of the sugya, and comes out. We finished the sugya of the Arba Parshios. Shkolim is before Rosh Chodesh Adar, Zochar is before Purim, and then the next 2 weeks that are closest to Rosh Chodesh Adar, Rosh Chodesh Nisan is going to be Chodesh as soon as you can be, either Rosh Chodesh or the Shabbos before, and the one before that is going to be Parah. And as far as this sugya about the Arba Parshios, we don't start reading the regular Seder Parsha. We just change the Haftorah, the Maftir and the Haftorah. Yashikah, everybody. Yashikah. Thank you. And
Thank you.
Speak of Sostos, everybody. Thank you.
Rabbi, what about the Siyam?
So what does everybody say? Rabbi Gold sounded like there's not going to be a Siyam for the communal level, but whatever everyone decides together, Rabbi Gold's direction.
Yeah, no, apparently he's making a Siyam on Monday, on Tu B'Shvat, for his father, and he would like to possibly do it together